the system doesn't make as much money, but it'll knock the other guy out. And if you make buildings, let's say you made a building old-fashioned, and the memory metals are just in the joints right here and right here, not the whole building. So when you turn this in and that in, you deliver a thing like this, and then turn the memory on, and it goes up like that. The joints are just here, the memory metal, not the whole building. It's just in the joints. So if you turn the building in like that, collapse it, turn the memory on, it goes up like that, out. But people think I'm using memory metal throughout the whole building, just the joints. So when I say, yeah, but who's going to make the memory metals? The memory metals are extruded automatically. It's very easy to do. That's the way they do it today. So when people say to me, well, what's the matter with today's stuff? If you make a refrigerator round like this, and all the shelves rotate, you can't get to the back of your refrigerator. You have to take everything out to get to the milk bottle. If they're round, you rotate it, you fill all your stuff in. And you don't need to open the whole door, just this sliding area.
That's great.
You understand?
Yes.
All right, now, all the ovens, I think I mentioned this before, will have a pinnacle sticking up like that, instead of a heater coil. Your pots will have an indent in the middle sticking up, all of them. So if you're making soup, the heat only goes through the soup. Do you understand it? So you got a coffee pot here, there's a pinnacle sticking up. The heating element is not in the pot, it's on the stove sticking up. So when you put the coffee thing, the heat only goes through the coffee. You know what that would save a nation in energy? Rather than a hot plate underneath it, where the heat goes all over the place. And you have to wait till the heat goes through the whole thing. Here it goes through faster. You'll save millions of kilowatts of oil, energy, electric generators, everything. But the electric companies would not like it in a private system. They'd rather sell a gas range or heat range in every apartment. I would rather make the apartments large and have dining areas for the whole community instead of housewife making bacon and eggs every day. I'd rather photograph Chef Malani making food and then program computers. I don't know if you know that. A surgeon has 10 tremors per second in the hand. Computers have none. So when they do surgery, they cut with a controlled depth. Well, the doctor has to do it first so the computer can measure his position in space. Then thereafter that operation, a doctor doesn't know anything. When he cuts a person open and it turns red, he says hemostat, and he clamps that area. Where did he get that in medical school? If you teach a computer to scan for color, suddenly red blood comes out, the hemostat goes on it. See, a doctor says to a nurse, hemostat, and the nurse gives him a hemostat right in his hand. Then he says clamps, and the nurse gives him clamps. A turret head, when the doctor says hemostat, it turns and he takes it. Nurse, the clamps, blood clot, whatever the conditions are, he gets. Sooner or later, the material doing the surgery will scan, make sure there's no hemorrhage. And if there is a hemorrhage, it's immediate. The turret head turns and locks it. But a doctor has to look at it. And other students says, see, that's a hemorrhage. He's got to instruct people. Your computer or your laptop has a lot of information, but it's just a computer. In the future, the computers will be connected to industrial processes. So the computer doesn't say things without altering the production process. When the computer is connected to machines, it can say hemostat, this, that. So we're just looking at a world where computers are connected mostly to people. In the future, they'll be connected to industry, agriculture, so you'll know what the hell's going on all over the world. Right now, they talk about centralization. You know what that means? Decentralizing. Because when you have Washington, D.C. here, and this is the United States. Washington doesn't know what's going on in Florida, nor the state of Washington, nor New York. So they say we want to decentralize, but with computers connected to Washington, Oregon, Florida, Key West, you know what's going on all over the country. And since you don't have any vested interest in Florida, there's no reason to decentralize. Then you got to have computers all over the place. Here they're connected to the whole of America or the world, so you know on one central computer everybody has a model of the Earth in their home. When you get to Venus, I'll show you a model of the Earth, and you touch it. It gives you the population, the Atlantic Ocean, the ice. It speaks as you touch different areas. Have you seen that?
The cybernetic complex is what you call it, yeah.
Now then you can get the depth of the ocean, the production, ice formation, hurricanes, everything on Earth is in your home. So if you want to know anything about any state, you plug it in, you touch it. Or you don't even touch it, get in proximity of it, it'll tell you what's going on. Just like a little unit you move your fingers by.
And everyone will have access to that information. It won't, so like Wikipedia and that kind of stuff, it would be...
Jack can't hear you.
Everyone will have access to that information,
oh,
yes.
Yeah. Well, mostly people that have concern about those things, that manipulate the environment. Everybody wouldn't want that in their home, but guys who want to know, if I build a dam here, what's going to happen there 5 years from now? The computer extrapolates, tick, 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 based on known information. It says, if you build a dam here, it's going to cause a drought there 4 years from now, not immediately. The computer extrapolates. If you build 4,000 planes a month, there's no airport to receive 300 landings an hour. They can't. So it scans all the airports, then it tells you how many planes to build. But if you just build cities all over the place and food is way over here, how much does it cost to transport that food? So food has to surround each city, photoelectric cells, solar power. Each city has to be self-sufficient, because electric lines lose a lot of energy over long transmission. Unless you produce absolute zero, there's no loss. But the energy to produce absolute zero costs a lot. You know what I mean? So
I was going to say earlier that we will streamline production as
you
much
know,
as we can.
Just saying that, give them an example. But don't give them details.
Right.
Just say by having a central air conditioner piping it to all the buildings better than one hanging out of each window.
Right.
But it's good for the electric companies, the other one. So I don't want a person making bacon and eggs every morning. I want Chef Milani, or whatever they call the best cook, to chop up onions and do what he wants, but photograph every motion he makes. If you're not familiar with that, I think I told some of you that the auto companies spray rubber under the metal so the rain won't drive you crazy. It deadens the sound. But a guy has to spray rubber under the car first, and the computer measures every move he makes and logs it in, see? And then thereafter, from there on out, the cars are sprayed automatically with rubber. Now if you teach, say 1A or 1B, we photograph you teaching. We photograph 99% of the questions kids ask and put in additionals. So he doesn't go to school every day and says the same thing to 1A and 1B. 2 and 2 is 4. 4 and 4 is 8. That's done automatically. His image comes into the class full size. Good morning, students. And he then tells them about history of the United States without propaganda. And he tells them, but he can be out sailing a boat. I don't want him there every day doing the same thing. You can go back to school and study advanced teaching systems, whatever you want. But if you do every day get in and drill holes in metal, it's the same process. We can easily automate it. Yes.
Do you see this as a, for education, I mean, surely that could solve
Yes,
all.
technical education.
But right across the entire globe, if you could have the best teacher, and
Photograph.
yes,
So he can be in 40 schools
Yeah.
instead of one, yes.
and put
absolutely.
all those kids in Africa
By
and
getting the
Madagascar
best training.
on a some kind of route. Maybe they do it on the computer, but they go on a.
We
on-
can't have good teachers go from one school to another.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to photograph them delivering like you're doing now. This lecture, I hope, if it's recording, will appear many places.
Yes.
It won't change everybody because the language is not convenient for everybody. But done on multiple levels in the future, for coal miners, members of the Ku Klux Klan, each lecture has to be by a Southerner, by a black man to the black community, by a Polish guy to Poland. Like if I go to Africa, they invited me to Africa, and I'm lecturing to black people there, what the hell is Whitey doing here? You know what I mean? They'd rather hear it from a member of their own group.